So, good evening. This is the Monday, February 14th meeting, 2022. The Norton Conservation Commission, time now is 6:30. We have with us tonight John Thomas, our Conservation Director. Megan Harp is our assistant. I'm Julian Kadish, the chair. Our vice chair does not appear to be on the call yet tonight, but we also have Dan Pearson, Carrie Schneider, and our new member, Tama Vest. Tama, I believe you are now official. Is that correct? You got sworn in?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay. And so we are obligated to begin all of these remote meetings with the preamble requiring the remote meeting. So Dan Pearson, if you could read that preamble for us. You're muted, Dan.
Sorry. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 2020 order suspending certain provisions, the Open Meeting Law, GL Chapter 30A, Section 18, and Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Norton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members, public, and or parties with the right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the end of this agenda. Members of the public attending this meeting, attending this public hearing / meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by raising their hand virtually or pressing *9, participating by phone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, post on the Norton Cable website, www.nortonmediacenter.org, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
All right, thank you, Dan. So we will open the meeting with a public presentation. It refers to a DP number 250-1093, and it concerns the proposed project to construct a driveway and utilities to gain access to a proposed single-family home. Do we have a representative for that project?
My name's Ken Thompson. I'm the wetland scientist on the project. And we have proposed.
All right, can you just go? Oh, go ahead, sorry.
We're proposing a limited project access to gain access to the property. A couple of things came up in the beginning of this. The signature page, Mr. Thomas requests that we have it signed, and I never into this before, but the previous owner of the land sold an easement to the applicant, Steve Civitia, and the new buyer was unaware that it was an easement on his property. We have a legal easement across the property. I presented it both to DEP, yourselves, and Michael Donne, who is the neighbor at 56 Oak Street. So I've never run into that before. He hasn't signed it yet, you know, so I've never run into it. So I don't know how the commission is going to deal with that. I can email down to Andy Poignette tomorrow. I thought I already have, but I couldn't find the email, so I guess I didn't do it. That's one issue. The second one, I've been informed that if the DEP had a comment about coming in around the property through the existing driveway. And that's, it measures about 900 feet in. Now, my understanding is.
Recording in progress.
My understanding is that common driveways in Norton can only be 500 feet. And if just the cost of coming in 900 feet electricity, and then I guess we have to have sprinklers in the house if we're over 500 feet. I'm not sure of the actual rule on that, but is anybody on the commission familiar with the common driveway rule?
That's a planning board question, so no one on the commission is going to be able to answer that.
All right, then we're going to have to resolve that part too. So I'd like to just present the rest of the program. Michael, we met the resident of 56 Oak Street. He's on right now, Michael Darnay. And we staked out the easement for him to review with us. So after I give my presentation, I'm sure you may have a comment on that. You're allowed to speak. So we proposed, can I take the screen?
You have screen sharing capabilities, yes.
Okay. All right, here's an overview of the property. This is Oak Street. North is up this way. This whole area is wetlands down behind Mike's house.
I'm not seeing anything on the screen.
Ken, we don't
I gotta
see.
hit share screen, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, we're not seeing it. So
How's that?
try again.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
We can.
This is Oak Street. This is 56. This is 76, the applicant's home. The proposed driveway is down through here. And we have two areas of impact. I have a better plan. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. I'm sorry. I got to reshare the screen. Stop sharing. I'll get used to this stuff eventually. This one. All right. This is the easement onto the property. We have two areas of impact that total 1,813 square feet of forested wetland. The wetlands, this centerpiece in here, the wetland, this blue line is the wetland flags. Everything, there's nothing above us draining in. This is the very top of the watershed. It drains down and crosses the street someplace in here, and it heads east from there. The proposed house is set outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. And my proposed mitigation, which is part of this property, is located right up in here. And it will be graded. It's at the same grade as the impacts. We're using kind of quick growing stuff. I use a lot of alder because it's a very fast growing plant. And the water, any flood waters, there's no FEMA flood in the area, but it's pretty wet up there in that area. And we've used the same contours to take in any of the winter storage of water and things of that nature. I did create a mitigation plan for it right here. I'm using red maple, black tupelo, silky dogwood, speckled alder, and Beb's willow. Those two are the primary succession plants that I like to use because they're very quick to grow. I can get an alder, 15 feet tall in 5 years and guarantees coverage. And the contouring follows the existing wetland contours out here, reaches in and grabs that lower contour. That's really a project. I still have hurdles to cross, which I'm sure we're going to continue tonight to complete, but that's my presentation.
All All right, so I just have a question, and then I'm sure other commission members will have questions. So the house is being built on a, I'm going to say a remote parcel away from the street. Now, there's this other, so you have the easement on an already existing property that that there's another house on currently. But then this other parcel here where you're proposing your mitigation, that would be under the ownership currently of the individual who was proposing to construct the house?
No, it's part of the subdivided lot. I don't know why it's called out the way it is, but that's part of the proposed, not proposed, the lot that we're going to build on. That is part of our property.
Okay, and so I guess the question is the alternative of bringing in the driveway through that lot, you considered, but it just seems not feasible. Can you talk about that?
About coming up that sliver where I have the mitigation?
Yeah, and I can see it would involve the wetland crossing, but maybe you should just talk about that.
That's the deepest part of this wetland. By moving it up to the easement, I don't even know where I'm at on the screen here. What are you, hold on. Let me do this again. Oh God. Hey, computers. Share screen. Here we go. This one here. This piece up where it says mitigation 1907, the wetland extends from the road to that blue line. Working at the top here is the minimal impact that I can get. This is all dry land up here. This is all wetlands down here.
All right, I guess the plan doesn't make that clear that that the wetlands extend all the way across the whole front portion of that odd-shaped parcel.
Yes, I apologize.
That's not a problem. We now see it. Anyone else on the commission have questions about this project?
Yeah, are you already before the planning board? For this
No,
project?
this lot was subdivided before years ago.
Because I'm just wondering about that shared driveway idea and whether or not that's already been precluded by them, or if we can explore that before we look at something that's going to disturb.
We're gonna
wetlands.
definitely explore it some more. I'm sorry for not being ready tonight.
But are you able to do that before, I guess in a timely manner so that we can wait on that before making decisions?
I will get the surveyor in touch with them right away. Frank
Okay.
Radlin's the surveyor. He does a lot of the planning board stuff.
Thank you.
So I guess I have a question here then about this term shared driveway. Is it a single family residence that's being
Yes,
proposed?
it's accessed, the existing driveway accesses 76 Oak Street. Do I have Mass Mapper up?
So where is 76 then?
It's that house in the back of where we're proposing. Shall I bring it up again?
Yeah, bring up the plan because I haven't got it in my mind exactly where we are. So there's a house out front next to the street.
That's
Is that-
56. Correct, that's
56.
56.
All right.
This
Now-
is 56 here.
Yeah.
This is 76. If give me a second, I can go to Mass Mapper. It comes in way over here and then comes up into the property, the common driveway or the driveway.
So
It's,
there's another access potential.
Yes, there is. There is a potential. From my understanding, it's 500 feet in the town of Norton. But I'll get clarification on that for you guys.
But I just don't have it in any clarity as to where the shared driveway is. You're not talking about the easement that, as we look at this, it's on the left side of the property, number 56, as a shared driveway, are you?
Hold on 1 second, please. It's back to stop sharing. Let me reach. I got Mass Mapper up. Oh, which pop-ups? Can you come up?
Not yet.
Pops up on mine. Oh, I'll have to get you an image of that. All right. It's located. Oh, how do I say this without it won't see the screen for Mass Mapper for some reason.
The property directly abuts the site where they're proposing a house, and there's a long extended driveway that comes off of the main street that goes over this main wetland system that they're trying to basically cross with this new easement that's to the south. And basically to get access. Can you please, everybody please mute themselves? Thank you. But what basically happens is that they created an access drive and they went through the commission already to build the original house on 76, which is to the north. This lot is located south of that and it directly abuts 76. So the question is, can they achieve a common drive to the new lot that they're proposing using the access that already was permitted to get to 76? Or is there the other alternative, which is crossing the wetland through this easement? If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. So I guess that'll have to be resolved by the planning board, as I mean, that's my understanding, before an actual decision gets made. And also, it sounds like there's a bit of discussion that has to go on with the owner of number 56 as well. But these are not wetland issues until the final decision as to exactly how this is going to be built is made. Is that a fair statement?
Fair. Definitely a fair statement.
All right. So I guess we can ask if there are any more questions from commission members, and then the next step will be questions from members of the audience who may want to comment. So I'm not hearing, let me take a look at hands here. I don't see any hands out there either. Oh, I see, I saw a hand. Let's see if it popped to the top. Yes, I have Mike Dion. You're on mute. Why don't you open up your mic?
There we go. Now you hearing me?
We are.
Okay, yeah, so I'm the owner at 56. Ken and Steve Lasavita came out a couple times. As he said, this was something that when I bought the house wasn't relayed to me in any way, shape, or form. But that's behind us now. And so they've been working with me. They staked out the driveway and stuff. I have water problems now, as you could imagine. And my question would be, how much more impact will it have on me? I'm not necessarily looking to be the tree hugger, but I just wonder if it's going to have any impact on me. And with, I've been there for about 3 years now, 2.5, and I see that pool to the south side of my house fill quite a bit. Give you an idea, my yard probably doesn't dry out until about June. So that's kind of how much I have to deal with water. But I'm not going to be the one to say yay or nay. I'm willing to work with the guys. As long as all other means of access are truly exhausted. I know that they keep talking about going in by 76. But when I look at that driveway, I think is that actually, I'd have to ask, but I don't know if that's shared already with 70, which would give them a shorter shot into there.
No, it's not shared.
No, but that was just a question that I had. And then there is some question about meaning sign. What does that signify on the application? Is this notice of intent that's in front of us today strictly for the wetlands piece of this? And if so, I think Ken already caught this, but the lot that's impacted on page 2 of the application is for 70, I think. And I know he forwarded some notice that it should reference, 25410, which I think is mine. So that's all I really have to say. I mean, I've been, working, assuming that this will go through, and I talked to Steve Saturday, and I basically asked him if he'd be willing to sign some type of easement agreement that would set forth rights, responsibilities, and things like that. And he said sure, but he said he'd look at it, but he's never been through anything like this. So I would like to. I mean, if this were to go forward, he knows, and I told him that I want something like that signed ahead of time, so that before they can start working on that access way. And that's about all I have to say. Put it out there just so people know where I'm stand right now.
Thank you, Mike.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
One question I had for you is, you said that area pulls up in the back of your area. Is that area in the location where they're proposing this access drive?
When we've walked it, it's kind of like the sloped area of it for the most part.
Okay.
They keep talking. Ken and Steve showed me they want to try and keep it as far south as possible. And so they'll be bringing the slope from where it is now to, I don't know, say 12 feet closer to my house.
Okay.
Whether that's going to do much in the way of, it's a pretty steep slope, so I don't know really what it's going to do for impact. They're going to put, it would be a flat driveway over there that, talking to Steve, he said he was not going to pave it for starters. That would have to be up to whoever might buy it. So maybe that's not going to be such a problem with it being gravel. I don't know.
Now,
But
my concerns are more so on it potentially being a vernal pool. That's why I asked.
Yeah. It's a pool quite a bit of the summer, that area. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's something to be reevaluated. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, you asked a couple of items in that question, and I think we need to be very specific about the answers. So,
Sure.
Mr. Thompson, one of the concerns was that there may be some impact on water in that gentleman's property, and you obviously have a compensatory area that have you designed into the plan. So, if you can just explain that part of the function of that is to avoid displacing any water from the filling that you're proposing.
By providing that lower elevation should take up any water storage that ever occurs along the edge of the driveway that we filled. It's designed with the same elevations, 96, 97, 98. And the impacts of 96, 97, and 98. So, and I can double check the square footage of each elevation for you, and I'll have that ready for you on the next meeting too.
Yeah, it's just, I think people who may not be familiar with one of the purposes of this review is to be sure that wetlands are not filled and that water that would normally go to them actually has a compensatory space. So this should, by this design process, have no impact on any increased water going into your property, because it's basically moved from the area that's being filled to the area that's being excavated to produce compensatory storage. The other item as to why the actual owner of the property needs to sign is a requirement of the law, is the owner of the property must be aware of the activity that is occurring on their property, even if the owner is not in any way financially involved. So
I understand.
Unless John Thomas wants to add anything additional to that, it's simply a matter that everybody is aware of what's going on, because some owners are not living on their property, and somebody can be proposing.
I totally understand where you're going with this. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever run into this one.
But
like
this
I
is
said, he bought the property.
this is a, right, but this is a common requirement because as a commission, we can't make a goof that of approving an activity that the owner was never aware of. And some owners are remote and not inspecting their properties routinely. So this is just a legal component of the law.
I know.
And I agree with you, Ken. This is more of a unique situation. You don't see these all the time. So, it happens.
Never seen it.
All right,
Okay,
so
that's
any other members of the audience have questions? And it sounds like there's no way we can really make any decision on this without some definitive decision as to exactly what the access is going to be. And that's going to depend on interactions with planning board and other owners around this property. So is that a fair statement? So what I'm expecting is that you're going to request a continuation of this hearing.
Yes. How often do you have meetings?
Twice a month, usually the second and fourth Mondays of the month.
Our next meeting is the 28th.
Why don't we go out 2 meetings then?
That would be the 14th of March.
Does that sound all right with everybody? That gives us enough time to get through all these issues.
Yeah, that should be fine. So unless there are further questions, we can consider a motion for a continuation of this hearing until March 14th.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we continue DEP file 250-93 to the, was it March 14th meeting?
March 14th, yes.
To the March 14th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Dan Pearson, seconded by Ron O'Reilly. Roll call vote. Dan and Carrie, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Tama, how do you vote?
Aye.
And then Ron?
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. And for the record, we didn't mention that Ron was in the meeting initially. He joined us just after the start of the meeting. So he is an additional commission member who's now participating in the meeting. Our next hearing is for file number 250 1096. It is a hearing about verifying resource areas, what we call an ANRAD, which is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. It concerns 93 Mansfield Avenue, a 40-some acre parcel on Mansfield Ave. So do we have a representative of that applicant?
Yes, we do. My name is Jim Burke. I'm a civil engineer with DeSalle Burke with offices in Quincy. We have with me tonight is Art Allen of Ecotech, who's wetland scientists that put a number of flags out for location on this 48-acre parcel that's located off of Mansfield Ave. It has frontage on both Mansfield Ave and Reservoir Street, and a lot of bank along the Norton Reservoir as well. We met with John Thompson earlier to kind of go over the plans. He actually had some time to go out to the site, and he had some concerns that we're certainly willing to address. Not too sure how in depth you want to get into the ANRAD itself. Mr. Allen can certainly speak to the species and the types of wetlands. It's bordering vegetative wetlands, there's floodplain, intermittent streams, bank from the Norton Reservoir and the like. But like I said, I think based on the email that we received from Mr. Thomas, there is some, I think, based on the tenor of it, I think you might be looking to wait till the spring and some buds pop to get a pretty accurate, a better accurate feel in regards to where the flags are. I don't think he had necessarily a problem with the flags. It's just there might be some areas that need a little fine tuning. And if John wants to speak to that.
Well, let me just ask, is it possible that you can share a plan that would give people a more concrete idea as to where this parcel is?
Jim, you have sharing capabilities too.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so the frontage along Mansfield Ave, 93 Mansfield Avenue is the house right here. It's a kind of a rundown home that our clients bought along with the parcel here and along with the parcel here with frontage on Reservoir Street. The wetlands, you can see there, the veranda through the property in the back of the house. There's a spot on the northern side off of Reservoir Street as well. There is an ILSF that was located here as well. Half the lot, we have village commercial zone here, R60 zone here, and right now we're just kind of looking to find out whether the design standards are for this parcel, in a sense that locking in the wetlands delineation is kind of a key part of trying to figure out how we can turn this parcel into something that the town of Norton could learn to permit.
All right, and just by way of people who may not know this lot well, I think directly across the street, for people who drive by on Mansfield Avenue, there's a liquor store. Is that correct? And
Yeah, and isn't the hardware store with the meat market?
well, that's up over the hill, I think.
Is that?
That's a ways up the hill. But directly across the street is my understanding is the liquor store, and then there is the collision repair place near it as well.
Right. So this is the locus that we show on our plan as well. There's 93 Mansfield Ave right here. This is a bridge. Some people like to fish off that bridge there. There's some ice fishing going on right here. And Reservoir Street comes down this way. The intersection's a little bit further to the south, but and then here's 140 as well.
All right, so any questions from the commission members or John Thomas?
No, actually, I think Art did a very good job with the site, just to give the commission some feedback. I didn't really have any questions or concerns regarding the locations of the flags. There was just a couple areas where I thought they could review, when there's a little bit more growing time with the growing season. But there is an area that looks like it does retain some water as well, which is in between I guess it would be south of the ILSF and along that property boundary where the zoning VC language is right now.
Oh, okay.
Right in there, yeah. So just take a look at that because it did have a good 5 to 6, 7 inches of water retention at that location. It was pretty large too. So I just want to make sure it doesn't meet the criteria.
Sure. Yep. Like I say, all your comments were well received, and I think, and you're right. I think Ecotech always does a nice job. It's a good conservative line, something that we can design with in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
So, John, you were able to be out there when there happened to be
There was still
snow, the snow melted, or so you feel comfortable with at least the large areas?
It was starting to lessen. A lot of the snow was starting to melt, but there was still snow on the ground. But the areas along the proximity to the reservoir and near the house location, and then off in the woods a little bit in the middle portion of the site, I was able to review those flags and actually see the ground, so I could actually get in there with an auger and take a look as well. But at the same point, you know, I know Ecotech, they do a great job, and I really didn't have any real want to change any flags. There were a couple discrepancies, a couple feet here and there, but I'm not going to get into that.
Well, I guess the question is, what is there a time urgency? In other words, a month could make a huge difference in feeling absolutely certain that the delineations are fine. Is this something that has a pressure of time on it?
It does not. I mean, like I said, the line that I have is something that I can work with. If we push this to, you know, in April, the first meeting in April, I mean, to give John and Nard a chance to maybe go through the areas that John had concerns with, I don't have a problem with that at all.
I don't see any of these flags changing more than 5 to 6 feet if they do. So that just gives you kind of a reference from my point.
Yeah, like I said, you know, yeah, we're comfortable with the, you know, continuing the hearing.
But in all fairness, I don't know if I've ever reviewed an ANRAD in the dead of winter before, because generally, you know, it's been a little clearer. So that's my only hesitation. I don't know how other members of the commission feel, but I think this is a tough time of year to really be comfortable assessing it out there.
Well, yeah, they're going to have to do the ILSF calculations too. I know that that's going to be prolong this. So by the time that all gets calculated and out, it should be a month down the road anyway.
All right. So let's see if we have any hands up. Any commission members have additional questions? And if not, we can ask if audience members have any questions. And if not, then we can consider a motion for a continuation. And we have the choice of the 28th of this month, 14th of March, or the 28th of March. Do you have a preference?
The 28th of March. I won't be available on March 14th.
All right, we can consider a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to continue DEP file 250-1096 to the March 28th, 2022 meeting of the Conservation Commission.
We have a motion made by Dan and seconded by
Second.
Carrie. So voice vote. We'll start with Dan and Carrie.
Aye.
Aye.
And Ron and Tama.
Aye.
All right, and I'll throw in an aye. The motion carries. This motion is continued until March 28th. So our next, you're welcome. Our next hearing is file number 250-1091, notice of intent for 6466 West Main Street concerning playing fields and other renovations at Norton High School. This has been continued from December 13th, January 10th, and January 24th. And I do believe we have a representative of the applicant. Good evening, Bree.
Good evening. So, since the last meeting, we had a few items to address with the peer review. We went back, we worked together again with the peer reviewer to get those items addressed. I believe the peer reviewer is here. I see Steve there to speak to any questions the commission may have. What I'd like to do is just run through our responses to the latest peer review comments and speak to the interest, the protection of the interest identified in Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. So the Wetlands Protection Regulations, 310 CMR, sets the burden of proof in Section 1003, section paragraph 1. And in pertinent part, any person who files a notice of intent to perform any work in an area subject to protection under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, or within the buffer zone has the burden of proof demonstrating to the issuing authority, and this one is number 3, that the proposed work within the buffer will contribute to the protection of the interest identified in Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The burden of proof is given in Section 1003(2), means that the applicant will have to produce at least some credible evidence. So in Gail's February 7th, 2022 letter to the commission, we provided the evidence that we've presented to the board in previous meetings and summarized it here and how it relates to those protection measures. And the protection measures are protection of public and private water supply, protection of groundwater supply, flood control, storm damage prevention, prevention of pollution, protection of land containing shellfish, which in this case isn't applicable, and protection of fisheries, and the last one is protection of wildlife habitat. So over the last few hearings that we presented a number of people to the board to discuss within their competencies how this project will protect those interests. For public water supply, the project complies with the Massachusetts Stormwater Standards, 310 CMR 1056K through Q, for a redevelopment project. Narrative and presentation of the impacts of synthetic turf and crumb rubber in peer-reviewed studies by Marie Rudiman, toxicologist, senior risk assessor. For protection of groundwater supply, the project complies with the Massachusetts Stormwater Standards for a redevelopment project. The narrative and presentations of the impacts of synthetic turf and crumb rubber in peer-reviewed studies by Marie Rudiman. Flood control. The project includes compensatory storage for area of work within Zone A flood zone for no net loss in flood zone storage. Storm damage prevention. The project includes stormwater management components that prevent an increase in post-construction runoff, peak discharge. Prevention of pollution. The project meets the Massachusetts Stormwater Standards for redevelopment and provides construction period pollution control measures. The project will also include work under the EPA NIPD's general permit for construction period operations, which includes the submittal of a stormwater pollution prevention plan by the contractor prior to the commencement of construction. Protection of land containing shellfish is not applicable. Protection of fisheries. So protection of fisheries defined in 310 CMR 1004 is to prevent or reduce contamination or damage to fish. Within the project area, there are no cold water fisheries. In fact, there's no cold water fisheries, designated cold water fisheries in the town of Norton. The project meets, and again, it meets the Massachusetts stormwater standards for redevelopment. The synthetic turf will reduce the total suspended solid loading because it will offer a reduction with the infiltration system that will offer an 80% reduction in total suspended solids. The project will also follow the EPA NIFTY's general permit for construction period activities. And synthetic turf and infill will not adversely impact aquatic receptors. I included with this submission two listings of crumb rubber studies. These are peer-reviewed studies. Marie went over some of those at the last meeting. And the state of the knowledge and the state of study of PFAS in these materials. Protection of wildlife habitat. The project is not within a National Heritage Endangered Species Program mapped habitat. The project will also include a vegetation management area as mitigation for an increase in impacts within the 25 feet of the bordering vegetated wetland. The mitigation to impact ratio is 11:1. And again, the project complies with the stormwater standards for redevelopment. So in summary, the evidence listed has been provided by experienced professionals in their fields for which they provide the evidence. It is presumed that a person regularly engaged in a professional field and or licensed by the state of Massachusetts to practice in a professional field is a competent source of credible evidence to support the position presented. So there were a few follow-up items in the peer review report, and Steve had indicated as part of his peer review that there were several items that the commission may consider to apply as conditions of any order of conditions should it be issued. And we can go through that if the need arises for the order of conditions at that time. Does that make sense to the commission?
Yes, that sounds fine to me, unless other people want to add something to that. So
I just want to say thank you, Bree, for that explanation. It was very helpful regarding the public interests. Thank you.
You're welcome.
all right, so you know, this obviously has been a difficult process, but I'm going to say that in all fairness, it is our obligation to bring out information in the public hearing process, even though some people expressed irritation at concerns that were brought up. But that process is complete in my mind. But a question for John Thomas: is there anything additional that we need to address before considering this for an order of conditions?
I mean, it's all stuff I think that we could probably put into order of conditions. I mean, I guess if the commission wants to do water quality testing, just to be certain, they can definitely condition that. Another thing that they can do is, sorry, I just got a notification, is that part of it was the cut and fill for the bordering land subject to flooding. There wasn't a table that was provided. We could condition that gets done prior to construction. I feel comfortable with that. It should be minor anyway. And then obviously, you know, SWIP compliance, conditioning that to be in accordance with, you know, our stormwater bylaw. So those are really the three things. I think Bree did a good job at touching upon a lot of the public interests. And, you know, obviously there are no cold water fisheries in town, which is great to know. And also for the public to know that the closest drinking water well is at least 8,000 feet away from the project site. So just so that way they're aware of potential contamination. But, besides that, I think, I have no other recommendations for the commission for this project regarding of what I've already informed them of.
Yeah, my only hesitation is when you say water quality testing. Exactly what would we test for? These are difficult, obscure substances, and they're not just one substance, they're a whole collection. So I don't know how helpful that would be.
Yeah, it was just a recommendation. I just, usually when you're dealing with hazardous sites, sometimes you deal with potential water quality testing, or if you're dealing with any sort of contaminants or things like that nature, if the commission is still feeling uncomfortable for those specific contaminants that are potentially with this substance, this turf material, that could be something that they would like to do. It's not required, obviously, but if they are, to the next step, if they feel more comfortable having that surety, then I think it would be a fair request on behalf of the applicant.
Yeah, I personally don't know if that would help any decision point in the future. But Dan, you had your hand up
Yes.
briefly.
I apologize. I was for I guess about 3 minutes knocked out of the loop due to technical difficulties. So should that happen again, I will call up immediately.
All right.
Sorry.
John Thomas, sorry, this is Tama, newest
Yeah, go ahead.
member. Just from a logistics standpoint, am I allowed to vote on this, or am I too new and missed too many of the open? I mean, obviously I've reread all the minutes and all that stuff, but
Let me just double check that. Megan, did Tama come in before this was for the first meeting, or was it after the second meeting?
I believe she came in after the second meeting. Like, she wasn't sworn in yet.
Okay.
So that counts.
So then, Tama, I would say probably just to be on the safe side, no.
okay.
Actually, I mean, we've been met with this issue before, and she has reviewed and she was witness to a lot of the discussion. So I think technically she would legally be allowed to vote, but that's something we can clarify at another time. So I guess the next question is, if there are no further questions from members of the commission.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Dan,
Mr.
please.
Chair, yes. And sorry, this might have been answered while I was briefly out, but may I ask, can I ask Mr. Stanish if all the issues in the Horsley-Witten letter of January 10th, if they have all been to his, the suggestions to his, and I guess I don't know if they've been met to our satisfaction as well. I guess that's the, so maybe I should be asking John Thomas this. Have the in the Horsley-Witten letter.
So Horsley and Witten has completed their review, and to my knowledge, Mr. Stanish has given his final approval for the project with some additional comments and conditions.
Okay.
That can get basically, yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Hi, this is Steve Stanish, recorder Witten here. I sent a letter regarding addressing those comments. There are a few comments that recommended order of conditions. Conditions of approval. There are 2 comments that were deferred to the board. One was the mitigation of 11-to-1 for the disturbed wetland area within the 25-foot buffer that they are proposing. And the second one is the last comment on the letter that is it's an open-ended comment to make sure that all the other comments that are outside of this letter with Horsley Witten presented forth by the planning board, because I believe there were some comments as part of the initial review, that were just questions that were being answered in parallel to my review that were being addressed as well. So I don't know if there's any outstanding comments outside of my letter that had been risen, but that's what that last comment pertains to.
Thank you. I have one more question, and this might, I'm just waiting for my, I have this on another screen. If it doesn't come up, I'll have to, all right, okay. Basically, it's this. As I understand, there's a line in the last meeting that says trench drains that have sumps in them will capture any crumb rubber before they go into the pipes. Okay. Any rubber that continues through will be captured in the outlet control structure. After the pipes collect the excess off, they will generally go to an outlet control structure that has a riser that will fill up and get elevation where it overflows. And then comes this, until it overflows, there will be no discharge to the wetlands. Does that mean that when it does overflow, crumb rubber will be discharging into the wetlands?
So it does not, the crumb rubber does not float. It sinks to the bottom. So the outlet control structure will keep the crumb rubber in it.
Okay. And then what happens to it after that? It's collected, or?
Yes, so part of the operation and maintenance of the structures in the field, that's one of the inspection items, to look for sediment or crumb rubber in the bottom of the outlet control structure, as well as the trench drain sumps. Those are standard inspection items.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So any additional comments from members of the commission? And I guess this would be an opportunity for any members of the participants, if they want to just make an additional comment or question. I don't see any hands up.
Comments have been disabled, by the way, just so you're aware. Everyone needs to raise their hand if they want to talk.
Okay, you're saying the chat function, but
yes.
But yeah, so now's the time if anyone wants to either raise their hand or you just take their mic off mute and make a comment. You'll have to identify yourself. But everybody, I don't see hands going up. So at this point, I think we've completed the information gathering and public comment portion. And so I'm assuming we're at the point where an order of conditions can be put together, but we need to continue the hearing for that process. Is that your understanding, John Thomas?
I mean, I don't have a order of conditions prepared, but if you want to close the hearing, because I don't know if we're going to receive any new material, and if we are, it's going to be minor.
I have no strong feeling. It is, anybody else on the commission have a strong feeling about that? So I think we can consider a motion to close. And then, of course, we'll be, our next meeting is the 28th of February, and we would be reviewing, deliberating, and voting on an order of conditions at that point. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to close. Or other, if that's the preference.
I will move to close file DEP 250-1091, Norton High School.
Motion made by Carrie and seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Ron. Roll call vote. We'll start with Dan and Carrie.
Aye.
Aye.
And then we have Ron and myself.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. And Tom, I think, you participated in this hearing, and you participated, not as a member, but certainly as an audience. So I think you can vote if you wish on closing.
Tom, you should just vote aye right now, and if not, then we can make the adjustment.
I will vote aye.
That's,
All right. Can we
I'm
celebrate?
sorry, can I just say, that's, let's just say for the record, that's assuming that you want to vote aye, Tom, okay?
Yes, I want to vote aye. Yes.
All right. Well, we'll celebrate that it's Thomas' first vote. Okay. So the motion carries. The file number for 250, the hearing for file number 250-1091 is closed. We will be putting together an order of conditions and deliberating and voting on it at our next meeting.
Bree, I'll send you a copy of the order conditions so you can look at it and let me know if you have any comments.
Okay,
All right.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody who participated.
Thank you, Steve, for joining, by the way. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We now go on to our next hearing, which is file number 250-1094. It is the Norton Mansfield Rail Trail. It's continued from January 24th. So do we have a representative for that project?
Yep, Matt Shute from Beta Group is here. I guess I'd like to just start off with, we submitted a response to comments memorandum dated February 9th based on comments we received at the first hearing. And I guess I would just like to ask the commission if they've had a chance to review that and if there was any questions on our responses or the revised deliverables that were submitted.
Not for me. Anybody else on the commission have specific comments? And otherwise, we will go to John Thomas.
I clicked, Matt, sorry, I accidentally muted you. Sorry about that. So I looked at this. I think that they have addressed most of member Carrozza's member, who's actually not on the call this evening. But I believe that they addressed a lot of her comments that they had. I actually went out to the site to take a look at the mitigation areas. And I had a hard time looking or trying to find the vernal pool when I was out there, actually, to be honest with you. I saw the areas. It's basically just a mowed corridor. It seems like they use it for maintenance, but it does have wetland vegetation in the areas. I think the areas would be sufficient to meet what is existing out there, but I do need to get in touch with those folks and let them know that they need to stop mowing the areas.
So there were only a few areas where there was any real significant discussion. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, that's correct. Lisa had some questions regarding waste receptacles. She had a concern about the abutters. She had some concerns around the regulatory criteria and how it conforms. I could go into more detail, but I'd have to have it in front of me to take a look at it.
But in our initial review, this was fairly straightforward. So I personally don't have any questions. So we can open it up to other members of the commission or even members of the audience that might want to comment if at this point they have any comments. So let me bring up, I don't see any hands up. So it's my understanding we've really gathered all the information needed to potentially close the hearing. Is that a fair statement?
That's my understanding. I know that DEP had some comments too, and they addressed those comments as well. And I think basically for this project, I mean, I think we could just condition it as part of the order that we issue.
Are you entertaining a motion, Mr. Chairman?
I think unless somebody comes forth with a question, I would be ready for a motion to close this public hearing for file number 250-1094.
So moved. I move to close.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion made by Dan Pearson, second by Carrie Schneider to close the public hearing for file number 250-1094. Again, a roll call vote, beginning with Dan Pearson and Carrie.
Aye.
And Tama and Ron.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye, so the motion carries. This hearing is closed, and I'm presuming we will be able to deliberate on and vote on an order of conditions at our next meeting, which is the 28th.
Thank you.
Matt and
Thank you.
John, I'll send you over an order conditions draft so you can take a look at it. Okay.
Thanks, John.
No problem, guys. Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
All right, we have next item on the agenda is file number 250-1070, notice of intent for zero rear Eddy Street. There's a note on the agenda that they requested a continuance. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's on the agenda, but they requested a continuance till the next hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to continue DEP file 250-070 to the the February 28 meeting.
All right, we have a motion by Dan Pearson and second by
Second.
Carrie Schneider. A roll call vote, Dan and Tama.
Aye.
Aye.
Carrie and Ron.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. So file number 250-1070 is continued until February 28th. Right. We have a request for a partial or full, partial certificate of compliance for 116 Lincoln Street. Plan. I don't know if John, you can hear a plan or not. Is that something on your computer?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll share my screen.
Yeah.
Does everyone see this plan?
I do, yes.
Okay.
So this is not a, well, let's see, when was this house built? Is it 2 or 3 years old?
This house is now built. The house is built. The septic system's put in. The roadway is still gravel. So, yeah. And the gentleman is having a lot of drainage issues, and I think that,
I am here tonight, John,
Oh,
representing
yes.
myself.
Okay.
The MIM engineering was unable to appear tonight for me.
Okay. All right. So the driveway itself has not been finished grade. But, for instance, for the purposes of this, Mr. Scheidel is looking to get a partial COC so that way he can obtain the certificate of occupancy through the building department. And I drove by the area, obviously, took a look on site. The driveway is not done, but the septic system appears to be in, the house appears to be in the location that it was constructed. So for the purposes of a partial COC for establishing the house and septic system and for him to utilize the house and get a certificate of occupancy, I think a partial COC should be in order. Obviously, he needs to come back for a full COC to meet all the criteria that are listed within the order of conditions. But for the time being, the commission has the ability to sign off on a partial COC for this gentleman to get the CO for residential purposes.
Yeah. So I see the 100-foot buffer. Is the driveway actually even within the buffer?
No,
it's on the
far right side.
Right side, yeah, which is right next to the property line.
All right, so technically it's kind of outside that particular region.
Yeah.
But everything else is complete?
Yes.
The house, the septic system, yes. But
The house, the septic system.
The visual barrier is not up yet, and obviously stabilization has not been achieved. So the purpose of this would be that, for instance, he gets a half COC right now, and then, for instance, he needs to come in for a full COC once the posts are in and then the stabilization is done.
Yeah. So this is something we've done multiple times before. So I have no objection to voting for a partial and then re-review for complete at a later date. So that's file number 250-1067. Any questions, comments from other members of the commission or members of the audience? If not, we can consider a motion for a partial certificate of compliance.
Mr. Chairman, I will make that motion for a partial certificate of compliance for 250-1067.
Second.
So we have a motion made by Dan Pearson, seconded by Carrie Schneider. Roll call vote, starting with Dan Pearson and Carrie Schneider.
Aye.
Aye.
And we have Tom and Ron.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. So when things are complete, we can review this and issue a full.
If we have enough ground that's not soaking wet by June, I'll see you in June.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I presume, don't have any orders, conditions, or orders and RADs to sign. And we do have draft minutes for the 24th of January.
I have a few minor things on the minutes. On page 16, fourth line down, you don't need to line these fields, L-I-N-E. Do you mean lime these fields, or am I off base? It says line these fields like a natural grass field to adjust the pH.
It's lime.
Lime, okay. L-I-N-E.
L-Y-M-E, yes.
I'm sorry.
Wait. First of all, what was the line again? That you're
page 16, line down.
Which line down? I lost that.
Fourth.
Sentence,
you don't need to line, it says. L-I-N-E. L-I November E, as opposed to L-I forget.
Emmy, yeah.
Mike.
Mike, yeah. Okay. Yes. So that's one voice oops that actually makes an effect on the meaning. So that's fine. Okay.
So, okay, there's one. Then I think there's the Mr. Shoot of it's a few. I'm sorry, a few pages back. Here we go. Page 6. In the box, page 6. Representatives Matt Shoot of Beta Group, not Beata, which is or saintly, which is always good to have for an organization, but it's actually Beta, BTA, not Beata.
Okay. Anything else?
I have no other. We should call up Lisa, see if she has any comments.
Just a reminder for all the members, this is actually on the Google Drive, so if you want to actually make your changes to it, it will update it for Megan. That'd be very nice. Since she spends a good quality of her time putting together the 35 pages of minutes that we currently are looking at.
Yes, thank you, Megan. It's very much appreciated.
I really appreciate the lime one because I heard lime the whole time. So
Well,
I really didn't get that one.
In a way, it makes sense because a football field has lines, but it's also about pH. So,
Thank you.
sure. Thank you.
All right. So we have the minutes of January 24th as corrected. We can entertain a motion to accept as corrected.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as corrected for January 24th.
Motion made by Dan Pearson and seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Ron. Roll call vote, starting with Tama and Carrie.
Aye.
Aye.
And Dan Pearson and Ron.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. Motion carries. The draft minutes as corrected are accepted.
I have a question. The presence of minutes on the Google Drive, does that mean that I could go in there right away as soon as the minutes come out, make grammatical, changes that don't have any bearing on the meeting, as Julian don't have.
When Megan finishes the minutes, she puts them on there, and then, for instance, when she sends out the email to everybody, that means they're up on the Google Drive. And if you want to make any additions or changes to the language that's in those, you can do those digitally, or you can scan a copy of your corrections to us, just the pages. We're more than happy to take those and make the changes. So that way we don't spend, 5-10
Sure.
minutes discussing it on a call.
So I assume it will be noted as to who made the changes.
Yes. And it does record who the person is that makes the changes. It shows
So-
their name.
This is only available to commission members, is that correct?
Yes, it's only available to commission members.
Yeah. 'Cause,
For example, mine right now says that I need to request edit access, just probably because I'm new.
Yeah, we'll give you access.
Yep. So that,
Okay.
that at least gives you assurance that it's locked to general.
Right. Yeah, that's, and I suppose people can hack it, but nevertheless, we need to at least have a barrier up there so that we don't have people acting inappropriately. Let's put it that way. All right. So I have on part of mine just a note from Goddard Consulting concerning the plantings, but that's something just for information value.
Yeah, Tim's actually here this evening. I don't know, Tim, are you there? Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, hi everyone. Tim McGuire from Goddard Consulting. Yeah, so there's a few updates over at Plain Street. So when we were last before you in the fall, we were discussing a restoration plan for an area in the vicinity of the road by the entrance to the solar field in which a previous contractor previously had cleared that out outside of the approved limit of work associated with the order of conditions. So we got an informal email from Jennifer Carlino, the previous agent, just asking them to address the area. So they engaged Goddard Consulting at the time and were before you for the discussion for that. The commission at the last meeting gave us some comments that we went to the field to address. And as soon as I got there, I noticed there was plants in the ground, contrary to our efforts with the commission. So long story short, we determined after a few phone calls that AMPS, the previous company who we at Goddard were working for, went out of business. And in their kind of transfers of property, they took one of our previous planting plans that was sent around for internal review, and unbeknownst of us, engaged ECR to perform the planting itself. So ECR prepared a memo to the commission. I believe it was dated in October. I'm not sure if the commission ever received that, but we did submit that as well. Just outlining that the area was planted and stabilized. All the debris that was cleared was spread out for wildlife habitat purposes. So John, Thomas, and I had the opportunity to walk the site last week. It's clearly vegetated and stable. I would turn it over to John, but it was my impression of our site walk that you were comfortable with the area and didn't believe it required further formal monitoring, although we can keep an eye on it in years to come. Is that a fair summary of your comments, John?
Yeah, I think it definitely is a fair summary. I think there's no need for the 2-year monitoring. The plants are in the ground, and if there's any sort of issues, we'll consult Madison about replanting.
Great.
If anything, the original plan that was before us, from my perspective, was just way too dense.
Yeah, it's not dense at all anymore.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So that was issue number one. And for the record, Madison Energy Investments is the new client that we are working for in terms of all compliance issues out there. So the second issue that we submitted a report and an official amendment request this afternoon to the commission for the order of conditions is that there's a lot of trees in the vicinity of the solar field that are dead and pose a threat to the equipment. The applicants have already suffered some solar damage. John and I were able to take a look at that just from trees falling down on the field, pretty significant in some spots. So we went out and I submitted the report to the commission. I can do a screen share of it if allowed. We went out in the field and marked all the trees that appeared to be dead. We made notes of insect damage.
You're all set, Tim.
Forming. Great, thank you. And I can show you those pictures now. Let's see. Yeah, so we submitted this letter to the commission. There was probably 15 or so trees out there, just with notes on all of them. John and I also walked around the solar field and were able to confirm all of these were dead. Or not all of them were dead. I think there were 2 live, but they were directly hanging over the solar field. So we recommended those for removal in our professional opinion. We marked their locations on this site plan and color coded them based on whether they occur within buffer zone or not. These points were taken by GPS. So I discussed this with John, how best we could permit the removal of these, considering the order of conditions is still open. Madison hasn't got the COC yet. So John recommended that we submit an official formal request to amend the order of conditions, which I just had the opportunity to do today. So I submitted the request to essentially allow a selective tree cutting zone within 50 feet of the limit of work on site that was approved. So this is just essentially an area I articulate in my memo that on an annual basis, we at Goddard will go around and evaluate trees in a similar fashion to how we did this year to see if there's any dead or that pose a potential threat to the solar field. And then we would mark them, submit a similar report to the commission, and ask for your approval to have them removed. So that's the other end of the coin on this property is the tree removal. So we're seeking permission to remove the trees in the letter and the amendment to allow this annual monitoring in the future.
So this amendment will be on our next agenda.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right, and I don't believe the commission needs to vote on that, so we'll just, what is it, the 28th we'll plan to be before you for?
Yes.
Okay. Did anyone have any questions on anything else on this property while I'm on, or?
No, I don't.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much and have a good night.
Thanks,
Thank
Tim.
All right, thank you. So we're on the upcoming new and old business. Anything further that we need to talk about on this list?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. I don't know if you want to spend some time talking about it or if you want to
Well,
just call.
Yeah, I mean, these are going to be on our plate in the future. So unless there's something specific we need to discuss here in the meeting as opposed to sending it in our future meeting materials.
All right. Well, I can quickly go over everything in a quick, concise manner. So we're trying to look at options for replacing the Walker Street culvert. It bisects Walker Street. We own both properties to the north and south for conservation. It also conjoins the Wading River. In light of that, there's also another potential opportunity south of that, which is the Barrowsville Dam. And we actually spoke with the landowner who is in charge with managing that dam. The town itself manages the pond. But the consensus is the landowner would like to do something to alleviate the restriction. So in light of having some sort of resiliency project or program, we've contacted Pair Engineering to assist us with potentially opportunities with bringing that into fruition, really, basically, for it to happen through a grant program as well. So that is kind of a joint program, but the first step is to do the culvert and then potentially look at the dam as being a secondary item or feature to kind of provide a lot more stream continuity and allow for free-flowing water for the Wading River. So that's part of the program that we're kind of initiative basically that we're trying to pursue. Other items are Mr. Beatty's landscaping company. He's looking for another letter for volunteering his services and his company to assist with the management of Edith Reed. So I need, if you all can come to the office and provide signatures, that would be great. I believe I have Dan Pearson's signature, but I need at least 4 members to sign that. We're also looking at potentially a Earth Day event at Edith Reed, hoping to kind of have a scavenger hunt or maybe some sort of other kind of Earth Day event, maybe plant a tree or something like that. So that is kind of up in the air, and we're just trying to figure out what we can do for that. And Megan's been helping immensely with that, so it's been great. She's been putting all sorts of flyers and figuring kind of certain materials that we can use and getting the scouts involved. So it's definitely been on the up and up for that one. Project specific, I was supposed to meet with the at 162 West Main Street today. That was canceled due to the snow. Looking at potential other opportunities or other site visit either later this week or next week with Alex Whiteside from our legal counsel. And probably going to have a meeting with the Board of Selectmen with that at some point. That's to be determined. It might be next Wednesday. It was supposed to be this Wednesday, but that's been changed. We're waiting to get the site visit done first. Island Brook, they submitted new materials to us. John Chessie has completed his review. We're just waiting on back from DEP to get insight from them. And then there's a bunch of other different commercial development projects that are happening, which we're supposed to get filings for. So that's really it for updates. I have nothing else further, but if anybody has any questions, let me know.
So it looks like it's going to be a very busy spring season.
Yes.
All right. Any questions or comments from anybody?
When do meetings go back to being held in person, or when does is there?
This is
Sorry.
Well, no, this is an ongoing. I mean, I personally feel very strongly that we should go back to in-person meetings, but of course, they're coming off this surge of Omicron, and so it's kind of out of our hands. I guess it's really a combination of the Board of Health and the selectmen that make this decision. Is that correct?
Yeah, the selectmen are actually going to meet this week to discuss that. It's on their agenda. I actually brought it up to them when I was in their office. That basically the governor said that come April 2022 we have to start meeting in person. So that's kind of where we're at, and that has not been updated. They've been firm with that. So I just don't know, what the next steps are, because hybrid, that would require us to do a lot of stuff, and I just don't think we have the capabilities to do that. We may have to find a different location because of restrictions and capabilities with electronic and technology. So the library maybe have to be that source. I don't know. It's kind of up in the air right now, and we're just waiting to hear back from the select board to see what they come to a decision on.
Yeah, I mean, I basically have come to feel that this is with us. It's going to continue to evolve, but with the availability of the vaccines and the boosters, I think those who want maximal protection, it's available. And so I would personally feel comfortable meeting in person. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion on that. So, all right. So, any further questions, comments?
Mayor Wiggins has his hand.
Oh yes, Peter.
That's
go
right,
ahead.
That's why I agree. We need to get back to in-person meetings because pandemic is on its way out, and everybody's doing the right thing. And pretty soon, in-person meetings soon.
I hope so, Peter.
We can be optimistic that it's on its way out, but it's proved that wrong. I think we're just going to have to learn to live with this level of risk. All right. So I think we can consider a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
All right, motion made by Dan Pearson and seconded by?
Second.
Ron, and as with our kind of tradition, thumbs up for adjourning, thumbs down for not. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Good night. Happy Valentine's.
Oh, yes.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Good night, everyone. Good night.